Topic 6. Management of disciplinary problems in the classroom. Basically, in this topic, we are going to learn about the types of problematic behavior. Later we will take a look at the causes why students are encountered with this problem. Then, we might scrutinize on what is the teacher's role in managing it. Lastly, we will check out the hindrance to solve this problem. So, there are two types of problematic behavior which are destructive and disruptive. Destruction refers to the action that is harmful or potentially cause damages towards the person who engages with it. Meanwhile, disruption refers to the act of disrupting something which can interrupt the normal learning sessions in the classroom. There are a lot of examples can be classified in destructive behavior. Some of them are social harassment, students beat up their friends and being rude with their teachers. The other behaviors which can considered as harmful are smoking and taking drugs. All these detrimental action could lead the problematic students to conviction. Disruptive behavior can be divided into three categories, which are disrupting teaching and learning process, impacting self-grooming and behavior, also students' problematic behavior. Disrupting teaching and learning process can be refusal to do homework and leaving class without teacher's permission. Next, self-grooming occurs when students do not obey the school uniform rules and regulations. The last one would be a presence of hyperactive or inactive student in the classroom.
Problematic behaviors are influenced by several conditions. So, why do they happen? According to Weeks in 2000, there are two types of factors that contribute to one's problematic behavior: intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic refers to internal factors that are related with genetic, physiological, and pathological condition of an individual that affect one's personal behavior, while extrinsic are the external factors that influence one's behavior, such as family and environment. Hence, let us dig further about intrinsic factors. The first in the list is differences in temperaments and rationality. According to Thomas and Chess in 1984, there are 9 categories of temperament that influence the children on how they should behave according to their own judgment and rationales in a particular situation. The list begins with activity level, rhythmicity, adaptability, approach of withdrawal, threshold of responsiveness, intensity of reaction, mood quality, distractibility, and lastly, attention span and persistence. Next is physical characteristic. It is stated that learners who have acquired a negative image relating to their physical characteristic tend to behave negatively. This is because physical characteristics relate to learners' inner life or subjective experience, and somehow, as inner state of feelings and attitudes are shaped from various factors, they gradually grow their own self-conceptualization over their physical appearance, which then lead them to feel less good and satisfied with themselves, and eventually affect how they behave. Moving on to extrinsic factors. The first extrinsic factor is family. As family is important in one's life, it becomes a crucial factor that contributes to one's problematic behavior. However, it is important to first understand that the atmosphere in home must be harmonious and enable the children to naturally develop a feeling of basic trust, which paves the way for emotional bonds with others. However, there are some unfortunate children that are exposed to pain and physical torment for a long term. They are also abused and neglected by the family members. And as some children are hyperactive, their condition requires their parents to be extra patient in nurturing them, which can lead to stress among the parents. Aside from that, children are also given harsh punishment for their mistakes. To a worse degree, the children are also sexually abused by their pedophilic parents. Last but not least, the children's environment, whether at home or school, also contribute to problematic behavior. These could be vividly observed through the low social status of the children's family background, and somehow this could be explained as there are certain conditions where the low-level education and work status parents do not motivate their children to excel in academic. Instead, they focus in their children on labor work to support their living. Besides, as the parents are absent at home due to overworking, the children are left unsupervised and somehow lead them to be influenced by their negative peers. Problematic behavior among the children is also influenced by some parents that cannot serve as a good model for their children to emulate, especially when they are at home. Lastly, the children could not explore the world in a wider perspective as they have no opportunities to polish their technical skills, and they also are barely given uplifting simulation through storybooks and language models as the family could not afford to provide such opportunities to them.
Are you a teacher who finds it difficult to manage students' problematic behavior? These are some of the ways that teacher can do to manage students' problematic behavior in class. The first way in dealing with problematic students in class is teachers must ignore students' secondary behavior. Whenever teachers seek to reprimand a student, teachers must maintain their focus. Teachers need to ignore students' negative replies even after you have asked them to get on their work. When dealing with difficult behavior, teachers can diffuse by going to a monotone. Prevent yourself from being too emotional. The second way is by keeping it private. You must prevent yourself from reprimand the child in front of the class because it will make the student become more eager to gain such attentions using the same way. You have to find a way to get the rest of the class busy before you go across the problematic students to deal with them. That way, you get to do it privately and quietly, that makes them less likely to kick off. The third way in managing problematic behavior in class is by giving students positive instructions. When there's a situation of students being noisy in class, instead of using no-talking strategies, you can give direct instructions like remain silent. After that, follow up your request with a thank you to indicate that you appreciate students' feedback. So, here are some of teachers' role in managing problematic behavior in class. Always remember to remain calm but not let that particular student get under your skin with their actions.
Hindrance in managing problematic behavior. Number 1. Teacher's attitude. Number 2. The lack of experiences and skills among the teachers. Number 3. Peer pressure. And number 4. Unsupported family. So let's take a look at the first point. Teachers who often being sarcastic towards problematic students will lead the students to feel inferior, and even worse, they would be rebellious. This will never help the students to better themselves. Otherwise, it deteriorates the situations. For example, a common scenario that we often see nowadays is when the teacher openly speaks about the disciplinary problems made by the problematic student in front of his other classmates. The teacher assumes that by doing that way, the student will not be repeating the same mistakes again, as he does not want to be humiliated in front of his other peers. Number 2. The lacking of skills and experiences among the teachers. In managing disciplinary cases, or specifically students' unpleasant behavior, teacher first needs to understand the exact way on how to deal with such circumstances. However, most of teachers do not know how to have a better management in facing with this issue. The absence of this knowledge will steer the teacher to implement the wrong approaches that eventually resulted in negative outcomes. Therefore, teachers are obliged to have a foundation in the knowledge of psychology and as well as to understand the correct steps in confronting with the problematic students. Number 3. Peer pressure. A research has shown that the circle of someone used to be surrounded with is the factor of how one's personality is shaped. That is to say, we tend to spend most of our time with our friends, especially at school. Thus, a problematic student is likely to have a problematic circle as well. The challenge here is, although the teacher has tried to advise the students with full of courtesy, has attempted in providing numbers of strategy in managing the problematic issue, it is still hard for that student to change, as he would be influenced greater by his other peers. Nevertheless, teachers should not give up on aiding the student to become better, as positive results will be obtained through challenging process. And lastly, unsupported family. Family is the very first institution that teachers want to become a person. When someone is categorized as problematic, family members should never abandon their psychological needs. Having an unsupported family will result to an unstable emotion, which finally give a great impact on how students behave at school. Hence, it has become the hindrance in managing the problematic behavior, as students will get stressed once they are at home. This is not right to happen in life, but the sad truth is, there are many cases pertaining to this issue had happened in today's world. Therefore, family should make someone feel at home by lending their ears when needed, always there to help each other, and never ever once attempt to ignore the feelings of a child, no matter how busy it is. That is all from us. Thank you.